The strongest Deathworld species finally met humanity and transformed Foreve. Yet humanity had not only survived, they had built homes, laboratories, and even farms that thrived in the harsh soil. It was a testament to the human spirit, the stubborn drive to adapt and endure. Commander Alina Voss stood at the observation deck of the colony's main station, watching the horizon with a sense of unease. "Sensors are picking up something unusual," said Lieutenant Marco Reyes, the station's chief technician. He tapped at a holographic display, eyes scanning lines of data. "It's massive, coming from outside our mapped space." Alina's brow furrowed. "Massive? How massive?" Marco hesitated. "Larger than any ship in the fleet, its mass is comparable to a small moon. And it's moving fast, much faster than anything we have ever seen." The word moon made Alina pause. Her mind raced. Humanity had explored many systems, but nothing had prepared them for this. "Alert the Council," she said finally, "and the scientists. We need every perspective on this." Within hours, the colony was alive with activity. Scientists examined readings, engineers checked defenses, and the military prepared for the unknown. Rumors spread among the settlers. Some whispered about an alien invasion, others about a cosmic miracle. Alina, however, knew better than to guess. She had seen human imagination often overrun reason. The next day, the anomaly became impossible to ignore. On the horizon, a colossal ship materialized. It was not like anything humanity had designed. Its hull was smooth yet organic, flowing as if alive. Light shimmered across its surface, reflecting the harsh sun in colors that humans did not have names for. The sheer size of the craft dwarfed even the largest human ships. Mountains on Azura IX seemed tiny in comparison. Alina felt a mixture of fear and awe. She had faced Deathworld storms, rogue asteroids, and hostile wildlife, but nothing like this. This was presence, power. Something beyond comprehension. "Commander," Marco said, his voice tight with disbelief, "the sensors are reading life forms, huge, strong life forms. They survive in conditions that would kill anything human instantly." Alina swallowed hard. "Deathworld species," Marco nodded. "Not just any. The Krather. Records say they are the strongest life form ever encountered in known space. They survive the deadliest planets, radiation, gravity extremes, and their physical power is well beyond imagination." The name sent a shiver down Alina's spine. Humanity had only ever heard of the Krather in old exploratory logs, ancient messages sent from distant galaxies. They were considered apex predators, creatures that no known species could match. And now they were here on Azura IX. "Are they hostile?" she asked, almost hoping for an answer that would calm the fear in her chest. "Unknown," Marco admitted. "They haven't attacked yet, but their approach is deliberate. They are observing us." Alina clenched her fists. Humans had faced terrifying creatures before, but they always found ways to endure. The Krather's arrival was a test, though she didn't yet understand its rules. The first day of contact was tense but silent. The Krather ship hovered above the colony, its shadow covering entire cities like a living eclipse. The humans sent messages, visual signals, and audio greetings, but there was no response in a language they could comprehend. Instead, the ship emitted vibrations that shook the ground, gentle at first, then growing in intensity. Plants swayed unnaturally, and water in reservoirs rippled even without wind. At night, the colony gathered in observation halls. Families pressed faces against reinforced glass, watching the massive alien forms move inside the ship. Each Krather seemed like a living fortress, muscular, resilient, and terrifyingly intelligent. They did not look like invaders. They looked like predators assessing their surroundings, calculating, and waiting. Alina stood at the front of the hall, her mind racing. She had spent years commanding missions to dangerous planets, negotiating with alien species, and surviving impossible conditions. But now all her experience seemed small. The Krather represented something that humans had never faced, pure natural strength beyond technological aid. "What do they want?" whispered a young engineer. Alina shook her head. "We don't know, but we will find out. We always do." By the second day, the Krather began interacting with the environment. They did not speak. They did not attack. But their presence caused dramatic effects. Storms whipped across the planet, tectonic activity increased, and rivers changed course as if acknowledging the alien arrival. Scientists were fascinated and terrified. Their data showed that the Krather could manipulate the planet's environment, bending it to their will. Elena led a small team to a safe observation zone outside the colony. From there, they could see the Crather up close. Each being was massive, taller than 10 humans stacked, with skin like armored stone but flexible, and eyes that seemed to shine with intelligence. They moved gracefully for creatures of their size, and every motion radiated power. Lieutenant Reyes, standing beside Elena, could not hide his excitement mixed with fear. "Commander, look at them. They are incredible. Humans us, we are fragile in comparison, but they are studying us, watching how we react." Elena nodded slowly. She realized something crucial. The Crather were not merely hunters. They were observers, and in observing, they were judging. The next challenge was communication. Linguists and xenobiologists worked tirelessly to establish a common ground. Humans tried lights, sounds, symbols, but the Crather seemed uninterested in words. Instead, they conveyed meaning through controlled vibrations, environmental shifts, and body movements. It was Lieutenant Reyes who first noticed a pattern. "Commander, they seem to respond to problem-solving behaviors. When humans coordinate to solve a problem, like stabilizing a falling structure or redirecting energy, their vibrations change. It's almost like they approve." Elena realized the implications. "They're testing us," she said. "They want to see how we handle challenges. They're not just measuring strength, they're measuring adaptability, intelligence, and courage." The revelation spread quickly through the colony. Fear transformed into a new form of determination. Humanity had always been at a disadvantage in raw strength, but they excelled in strategy, cooperation, and creativity. This was their advantage, and it might be their key to surviving this encounter. Days passed, and the humans adjusted to the Crather's presence. The aliens did not invade, nor did they attack. Instead, they created a silent tension, a constant challenge to human resilience. Storms, earthquakes, and environmental shifts tested the colony daily. But every time humans responded, finding solutions, building protections, and cooperating under pressure, the Crather observed with what seemed like interest. Commander Elena led her team through these trials, setting an example of courage, intelligence, and calmness under pressure. Her team followed, inspired not just by duty, but by the realization that they were representing all of humanity to a species that embodied the pinnacle of survival. Late one night, Elena stood alone on the observation deck. The Crather ship glowed faintly in the darkness, and she felt a mix of fear, excitement, and hope. Humanity had survived worse than storms, worse than hostile worlds, but this was something new. This was a test unlike any before. And yet deep inside, she felt a spark of confidence. Humanity might not match the Crather in raw power, but they had something equally formidable, the ability to adapt, to think, and to persevere. The future was uncertain. The challenges ahead were immense. But for the first time, Elena understood that this encounter could change humanity forever. Not just in technology, not just in survival, but in the very spirit of what it meant to be human. As the first night passed with the Crather silently watching, Elena whispered to herself, "We are ready. We will show them what humans can do." And somewhere within the massive alien ship, the Crather's vibrations pulsed in response, not a threat, not an attack, but recognition. Recognition that humanity, fragile and small in comparison, had the courage to face the impossible. The arrival was only the beginning. The real test was about to begin. The days on Azura IX grew more intense. The Crather had settled into a strange rhythm, hovering near the colony, yet never entering human space. Their presence was a constant weight, like the pull of a massive planet. Each morning, Commander Elena Voss walked among her people, checking on their morale. Engineers were modifying buildings to withstand sudden environmental shifts. Farmers worked to protect crops from unpredictable storms. Children, despite their parents' worries, were fascinated by the enormous ship above. Elena felt the same awe as the children, but she also knew the reality. Humanity was being watched and tested. Lieutenant Marco Reyes reported a new pattern. "Commander, the Crather are responding to coordinated action." When multiple teams work together to solve an urgent problem, the ship emits stronger vibrations. When humans panic or fail, the effect is weaker or absent. Elena nodded. "They are testing our problem-solving under pressure. That's smart. Humans excel at cooperation. Let's give them a good show." The first challenge arrived unexpectedly. A violent storm swept across the colony. Winds strong enough to tear roofs from buildings, dust swirling like miniature tornadoes, and the ground shaking under tremors from far-off tectonic shifts. It was as if the planet itself was challenging humanity, pushing them to their limits. Alina activated the colony's emergency protocols. Teams were sent to stabilize structures, rescue stranded citizens, and maintain power grids. The Crather hovered above, their massive forms visible through the storm, glowing faintly. Each movement of their bodies seemed to affect the winds and the ground, as if they were testing how humans responded under extreme conditions. Alina led a group to the colony's main energy hub. The storm had knocked out part of the power system, threatening the life support systems in residential zones. She could feel the strain, sweat running down her face, and yet she stayed calm. Her team followed her example, working with precision, ingenuity, and courage. As they repaired the systems, Alina noticed a pattern in the Crather's behavior. When humans collaborated effectively, the storm's intensity decreased slightly. When individuals acted recklessly or panicked, the wind picked up. It was subtle but undeniable. The Crather were not only observers, they were environmental testers. They were shaping the planet around them to see how humans adapted. By evening, the storm subsided, thanks to the combined efforts of Alina's team and the rest of the colony. Power had been restored, citizens were safe, and crops had been saved from total destruction. In the aftermath, the Crather did something unexpected. They lowered a section of their massive ship, revealing structures inside, massive chambers filled with strange, glowing materials. It was as if they were inviting humanity to observe or perhaps to learn. Scientists aboard the observation decks were ecstatic. Dr. Layla Chen, the colony's lead xenobiologist, spoke with excitement. "Commander, this is unprecedented. They're showing us part of their technology, or maybe their biology. These materials are living or semi-living. They respond to touch and environmental changes. They could revolutionize human science if we study them carefully." Alina considered the risk. Approaching the Crather had always been dangerous, but now it seemed like an opportunity. "Prepare a small team," she said. "We will approach, but cautiously, no unnecessary risk. Remember, they are the strongest species we have ever encountered." The next morning, Alina, Marco, and a team of scientists approached the ship in reinforced vehicles. The Crather did not move aggressively. Instead, they watched. Their eyes, massive and intelligent, tracked every movement. As the humans neared the lowered section, the ship's surface seemed to pulse, welcoming, or at least acknowledging, their presence. Dr. Chen stepped forward carefully, placing her hand on a glowing surface. The material reacted immediately, flowing slightly around her fingers, glowing brighter as if responding to her touch. Gasps echoed from the team. Alina felt a thrill of amazement mixed with caution. "They're testing our understanding," Alina said quietly. "They want to see if we can interact with them intelligently without fear or panic." Lieutenant Reyes studied the vibrations emitted by the ship. "Commander, it's like they're communicating, but not with words. They sense intent and cooperation. They're measuring our intelligence and calm under pressure." The team continued their cautious exploration. Each time humans solved a problem or acted in unison, the ship pulsed in response. When a misstep occurred, the glowing surface dimmed, and the Crather's massive forms shifted slightly, as if disappointed. Alina realized something important. This was more than a test of survival. It was a test of humanity's mind, spirit, and ability to work together under pressure. Strength was measured not only in muscle or weapons, but in cooperation, courage, and intelligence. Days passed in this pattern. The Crather observed, humans responded, and the planet itself became a proving ground. Alina organized exercises for her teams, repairing structures under simulated environmental crises, rerouting energy through damaged grids, and even managing crises in farming zones threatened by sudden storms. Each success drew subtle responses from the Crather, vibrations, glowing patterns on the ship, and environmental adjustments that rewarded cooperation. One evening, after a particularly challenging drill, Alina and Marco climbed to the observation deck. Below, the colony buzzed with coordinated activity. Above, the Crather hovered silently, watching. "They're learning too," Marco said. "They've never encountered humans like this before. Other species, they respond with instinct. We respond with thought." Alina nodded. "Exactly. That's what sets us apart. The Crather are strong, yes, but we have flexibility, creativity, and perseverance. Those qualities can be stronger than raw power. Suddenly, the ground trembled violently, stronger than any storm they had faced before. Buildings shook, dust clouds rose, and sirens blared. The Crather ship descended slightly, and Alina understood immediately. This was the ultimate test so far. "Team, to your positions," she shouted. "We've faced worse, but we've never faced something like this. Work together, keep calm, and adapt. Humanity survives because we think, not just because we endure." Teams ran through the colony, securing structures, stabilizing energy conduits, and rescuing those trapped by debris. Alina led the effort at the central energy hub, rerouting power to critical areas. She coordinated her team, issuing clear commands, encouraging calm, and using their collective intelligence to solve immediate problems. The storm was merciless. Winds tore through the city, massive stones fell from the mountains, and rivers swelled dangerously. Yet humanity responded with precision. Each action was deliberate, cooperative, and smart. Each success seemed to calm the storm slightly, a subtle feedback from the Crather's presence. Hours later, when the chaos finally subsided, the colony had survived. Damage was significant but manageable. Citizens cheered, tired but relieved. Alina, Marco, and Dr. Chen looked up at the Crather ship. It pulsed gently, an almost imperceptible signal, but one that spoke volumes. Recognition, respect, perhaps even approval. Dr. Chen whispered, "They're not just testing our strength, they're testing our spirit. They want to see if humanity is worth acknowledging," and we passed. Alina's heart swelled with pride. Humanity had faced impossible odds before, but this was something entirely new. They had survived not just the storm, but the observation, the test, and the silent judgment of a species stronger than anything known. Over the next few days, communication attempts continued. The Crather did not speak, but their actions became more deliberate. Sometimes, they manipulated the environment in ways that helped humans, creating safer paths during minor tremors or stabilizing buildings threatened by shifting soil. It was clear they were learning from humanity as much as humanity was learning from them. Alina realized a profound truth. Survival was not only about strength or weapons or technology. It was about adaptability, cooperation, courage, and ingenuity. Humanity, fragile in body but strong in mind and spirit, had something the Crather could not have expected: resilience built on intelligence and unity. That evening, Alina stood once more on the observation deck, looking at the glowing alien ship above. Her voice was soft but certain. "We've shown them who we are," she said. "Not just humans who survive, but humans who think, who create, who overcome. They might be the strongest species in the galaxy, but we have something just as powerful: our mind, our courage, and our will." The Crather's ship pulsed faintly in response, a subtle acknowledgement that humanity had passed the first real challenge. Alina knew this was only the beginning. Greater tests lay ahead. But she also knew this: humanity had faced the impossible before, and they would do it again. With courage, unity, and intelligence, no challenge, even one from the universe's strongest species, could break them. For the first time, Alina felt a spark of hope mixed with excitement. Humanity was no longer just surviving. They were being recognized. And this recognition would change everything. The Crather were not merely observers now. They were judges, teachers, and perhaps, unknowingly, allies in humanity's journey toward something greater. And humanity was ready. Weeks had passed since the first test. Humanity on Azura IX had adapted to the presence of the Crather, learning to work together under pressure, anticipating environmental shifts, and solving problems with ingenuity and courage. Yet, for all their victories, the Crather remained a mystery. Their intentions were unclear, and their immense strength and intelligence left humanity humbled. Commander Alina Voss walked through the colony's central plaza, observing the citizens. People moved with quiet determination. Engineers reinforced buildings to withstand unpredictable environmental changes. Scientists experimented with materials that had never existed on human planets. Children played games that mimicked problem-solving drills, honing coordination and strategy. Humanity had risen to the challenge, and in doing so had grown stronger. Lieutenant Marco Reyes approached Alina with a datapad in hand. "Commander, the Crather have altered their ship's behavior. It's different from before. They're not just observing, they're creating patterns." "It looks like they're teaching." Alina raised an eyebrow. "Teaching? How?" Marco pointed to the holographic display. Environmental manipulations. The storms are less destructive if we solve challenges correctly. The ship emits light sequences that correspond to solutions. It's like a learning system. They're showing us the results of our actions. Alina's mind raced. Humanity had passed tests of strength and ingenuity. Now it seemed the Krather wanted to convey understanding, to teach, to share knowledge, but on their terms. The first opportunity to engage directly came unexpectedly. A young scientist, Dr. Reena Patel, discovered a set of glowing crystals within the Krather's lowered ship section. These crystals responded to touch and thought, amplifying energy flows when humans approached them with coordinated actions. Dr. Patel called Alina immediately. "Commander, these crystals, they respond to our intentions. It's as if they can sense understanding and cooperation. I think the Krather are giving us a way to interact with their systems safely." Alina assembled a small delegation, including Dr. Patel, Dr. Chen, and Lieutenant Reyes. They approached the ship with caution. The Krather watched silently, their massive forms looming above. Alina felt the familiar mixture of awe and apprehension. The species they faced was stronger than anything humans had ever encountered. Yet humanity had survived, and now they had a chance to learn. Doctor. Patel carefully laid her hands on the crystals. The energy pulsed and flowed through her fingertips. Light sequences rippled across the Krather ship, forming patterns that the humans instinctively began to follow. Slowly, they understood that the sequences corresponded to environmental control, energy manipulation, and even protective mechanisms. The first breakthrough came when they activated a shield over a damaged section of the colony. The storm that had threatened the area dissipated almost immediately. Alina's team looked at each other in disbelief. Humans had learned to use Krather technology without a word, without traditional instructions, just by observing, thinking, and cooperating. "It's incredible, Doctor," Chen said, eyes wide. "They've designed this for learning, for adaptation. It's not just power, it's knowledge. They're teaching us how to survive like them." Alina felt a thrill of pride. Humanity had always been inventive, resilient, and adaptable. Now their greatest qualities were being recognized by the universe's strongest species. Over the following days, the humans experimented further. They discovered that the Krather's ship responded to teamwork, logical problem-solving, and even emotional stability. Panic, selfishness, or disorganization reduced the effectiveness of the ship's responses. Calm, deliberate cooperation amplified it. Alina realized that the Krather valued more than raw strength. They valued intelligence, courage, and the ability to work together. Humanity, fragile yet flexible, had something unique, a combination of mental and emotional resilience that no species could match. One afternoon, while testing a new energy conduit, a sudden tremor shook the area. A massive boulder threatened to collapse a nearby building. Alina and her team acted immediately. They coordinated ropes, pulleys, and human ingenuity to move the boulder safely. The Krather watched silently. As soon as the task was complete, the ship pulsed, and the surrounding area stabilized. "Commander," Lieutenant Reyes said, awed, "every time we act with intelligence and cooperation, they respond. They're learning from us, but we're learning from them too." Alina nodded. "Exactly. This isn't just about survival, it's about understanding. They're teaching us how to think like they do, to anticipate, adapt, and endure." The humans began to notice subtle differences in the Krather themselves. Though they were physically imposing, their movements were precise, deliberate, and purposeful. Each Krather seemed to radiate intelligence, observing humans, analyzing patterns, and responding not with aggression but with guidance. Dr. Chen hypothesized, "They survived the deadliest planets by adapting their environment and themselves. They value survival through intelligence, not just force, and they see that same potential in humanity." Alina realized that the Krather were testing more than strength or skill. They were testing humanity's spirit, the combination of intelligence, courage, and emotional resilience that had allowed humans to survive countless challenges throughout their history. One evening, Alina called a meeting with her delegation. "We've passed their initial tests. They're showing us knowledge, patterns, and ways to manipulate the environment safely. But we need to remember, this is only the beginning. They will challenge us further. We must remain calm, cooperative, and determined. Humanity thrives under pressure." "This is what sets us apart," Dr. Patel nodded. I understand, Commander. We've learned how to interact with their systems, but we're still vulnerable. One misstep could be disastrous. Elena smiled faintly. True, but we've survived impossible odds before. And we will survive this, together. As the days turned into weeks, the humans' understanding deepened. They began to anticipate the Crathers' tests, responding not just to challenges, but to potential challenges before they occurred. Energy grids were rerouted preemptively. Structural reinforcements were applied before storms struck. Teams communicated with perfect coordination. The Crather responded positively. Their ship pulsed, emitted vibrations, and adjusted environmental conditions to reward human ingenuity. The humans realized that they were not only surviving, they were growing stronger, smarter, and more confident under the Crather's guidance. Commander Elena reflected on the progress. Humanity had faced countless challenges on Azura IX, storms, earthquakes, hostile wildlife, and environmental hazards. Yet none of these compared to the challenge of facing the Crather. They were the ultimate test of adaptability, resilience, and intelligence. But humanity had proven themselves. They had not only survived, they had learned, grown, and adapted, and in doing so they had earned the Crather's attention and respect. One night, Elena walked alone on the observation deck. The Crather ship glowed faintly above, casting an ethereal light across the colony. She felt a deep sense of pride, not just in her own leadership, but in humanity as a whole. "They see us now," she whispered. "They see what humans can do. Not just our strength, but our spirit, our mind, our courage." Somewhere within the massive ship, the Crather seemed to respond. A subtle vibration pulsed through the deck, almost like a heartbeat. Elena felt it in her chest, a connection, however small, between humanity and the universe's strongest species. She knew that greater challenges lay ahead. The Crather would continue to test, observe, and teach, but humanity was ready. They had proven that they could adapt, think, and endure. And in doing so, they had begun to earn a place among the stars not as fragile observers, but as resilient, intelligent participants. As she gazed at the glowing ship, Elena felt a spark of hope and determination. Humanity had survived the impossible before. They would survive it again. And one day, perhaps, they would thrive, not just under observation, but in partnership with the universe's strongest species. The understanding had begun. Humanity and the Crather were learning from each other. One species tested, the other adapted. And in that mutual recognition, the first seeds of a new era were sown, a future where humans would not merely survive, but grow stronger, smarter, and more capable than ever before. And for the first time, humanity realized that this was more than survival. This was transformation. The journey had only just begun. The weeks on Azura IX had changed everything for humanity. The Crather were no longer silent observers. Their presence had become a guiding force, subtle yet undeniable, shaping the colony, testing the humans, and offering glimpses of knowledge beyond comprehension. Humanity had survived the trials of storms, tremors, and environmental chaos. But now a deeper challenge awaited: transformation. Commander Elena Voss walked through the colony, observing the changes. Buildings had been reinforced using techniques inspired by the Crather's glowing materials. Crops thrived under energy patterns that mimicked the alien species' natural control of environments. Humans moved with precision, efficiency, and calm determination. Every task was approached not just as work, but as an opportunity to learn, to adapt, and to grow stronger. Lieutenant Marco Reyes approached, holding a holographic map. "Commander, we're ready for the next stage." The Crather have created zones within the ship's lowered section for learning, not just observation. They want humans to enter under supervision and interact directly with their systems. Elena nodded slowly. "It's time. Humanity has proven its resilience. Now we must prove our ability to transform, to absorb their knowledge and use it to survive even greater challenges." The delegation entered the Crather ship cautiously. The air hummed with energy, and the walls glowed faintly, shifting as if alive. The environment responded to their presence, creating paths, steps, and openings where needed. Humans realized quickly that the ship was not just a structure, it was a teaching system, a living classroom designed to test intelligence, cooperation, and adaptability. "Doctor." Layla Chen was the first to speak. "Commander, this is beyond anything humanity has ever encountered. The systems respond to thought and action. It's not magic, it's advanced manipulation of energy and environment." They're showing us how to think like them, how to survive like them. Elena led the team into a central chamber. At its center, a massive crystalline formation pulsed with light. The Krather moved around it, massive yet careful, observing, guiding, yet not intervening. Humans approached, placing their hands on the crystals. Energy flowed through them, surprising, invigorating, and enlightening. Lieutenant Reyes gasped. "It's incredible. I feel stronger, more aware. It's like my mind is adapting to their way of thinking." Elena focused, noticing the subtle change within herself. Thoughts came faster, connections formed more clearly, and her senses seemed sharper. The Krather were not altering their bodies. They were teaching humanity to evolve mentally and emotionally, to think and respond in ways that maximized survival. Over the following days, humans began intensive training under the Krather's subtle guidance. They learned to manipulate energy fields to stabilize structures, divert storms, and even enhance their own physical abilities temporarily. Engineers discovered new ways to strengthen buildings using living energy patterns. Scientists developed methods to protect crops from deadly environmental fluctuations, and soldiers trained to coordinate flawlessly, using intelligence, strategy, and adaptability rather than brute force. Elena watched her people transform. The colony was no longer simply surviving, it was thriving. Humans moved with confidence, responding to crises with calm precision. Where once fear might have paralyzed them, they now acted with purpose, learning from every challenge. One afternoon, a simulated disaster was triggered by the Krather. A massive flood threatened the colony's lower districts. Teams rushed into action. Elena coordinated efforts from the observation deck, watching energy shields rise, channels redirect water, and civilians move to safety. The Krather observed silently, their massive forms towering above, yet their influence was subtle. Humans realized that every step, every decision, and every act of coordination mattered. The exercise was not only a test, it was a lesson in transformation. By the end of the day, the flood was contained. Elena's heart swelled with pride. Humanity had not only survived, they had mastered the Krather's teaching, transforming knowledge into action, thought into survival. The transformation extended beyond practical skills. Humans began to see the universe differently. Where fear once dominated their view of unknown worlds, curiosity and adaptability now prevailed. Where doubt had limited their potential, confidence and intelligence now guided their actions. Dr. Reena Patel approached Elena one evening. "Commander, I've been analyzing the Krather's patterns. Their strength is unmatched, yes, but their intelligence and adaptability are even more impressive. They survive not by dominating, but by understanding, learning, and evolving, and they're teaching us to do the same." Elena nodded thoughtfully. "Yes, Reena, that is the lesson humanity must learn. We've survived hostile planets, deadly storms, and hostile environments because we adapt, think, and cooperate. Now the Krather are helping us evolve to survive anything, even galaxies we haven't explored yet." The realization spread quickly through the colony. Fear of the unknown was replaced by a determination to grow, to learn, and to become stronger. Humanity was transforming, not through weapons or technology alone, but through intelligence, cooperation, and resilience. Weeks later, Elena led another team into the Krather ship. This time they were ready for a new challenge, direct interaction with the Krather themselves. Massive, intelligent, and imposing, the Krather allowed the humans to approach, study, and even mimic their movements and techniques. The experience was humbling. Humans realized the sheer scale of Krather power. They could lift massive boulders effortlessly, survive conditions that would kill any human, and manipulate energy in ways that defied imagination. Yet the humans were not intimidated. They had learned to combine intelligence, adaptability, and courage. They approached not with fear but with respect and determination. Elena spoke quietly to her team. "Observe, learn, adapt. We may not match their raw strength, but we can learn from their intelligence, strategy, and resilience. That is how humans thrive, through mind, courage, and cooperation." The Krather responded subtly. Vibrations pulsed through the chamber, patterns shifted, and humans realized that the aliens were teaching through action, not words. Each movement, each coordinated effort, was a lesson in survival, intelligence, and adaptability. By the end of the session, humans felt different, smarter, more aware, and more capable. The Krather had not changed their bodies, but they had opened the path for humanity to evolve mentally and emotionally, gaining a new kind of strength. Back in the colony, transformations became evident in daily life. Engineers built energy-efficient structures that adapted to storms. Scientists developed crops resilient to deadly environmental fluctuations. Soldiers trained with coordinated intelligence that allowed them to respond faster and more effectively to crises. Even children adapted, learning teamwork, strategy, and problem-solving as natural parts of play. Elena observed the changes with pride. Humanity was no longer fragile in the face of the unknown. They had gained the mental and emotional strength to survive extreme challenges, and they had learned to do so while maintaining their identity, values, and cooperation. One evening, she walked along the observation deck, gazing at the glowing Crather ship. Its presence no longer felt like a threat. It was a mentor, a guide, and a symbol of humanity's potential. Lieutenant Reyes joined her. "Commander, we're learning more every day, not just survival, but understanding. They're teaching us to evolve." Elena nodded. "Yes. And humanity is rising to the challenge. We're stronger, smarter, and more capable than ever. The Crather are guiding us, but it's our courage, our intelligence, and our cooperation that truly matter." For the first time, Elena felt a deep sense of hope. Humanity was transforming, not just to survive, but to thrive. They were evolving in ways that no one could have imagined, preparing for a future where challenges would be met with intelligence, courage, and unity. The Crather's influence extended beyond practical skills. Humans began to think differently, approach problems creatively, and anticipate challenges before they arose. They learned to respect the power of the universe without fear, understanding that strength came not only from muscle or technology, but from intelligence, cooperation, and adaptability. Colonists shared stories of small triumphs. A child discovering a new way to stabilize a structure, engineers devising a clever method to redirect energy, and soldiers coordinating flawlessly under simulated threats. Every success reinforced the lessons of transformation. Humans could learn, adapt, and evolve even in the shadow of the galaxy's strongest species. Elena reflected on the journey so far. Humanity had faced impossible odds, survived deadly planets, and endured countless challenges. Now, under the Crather's guidance, they were evolving. Not by force, not by domination, but by learning, thinking, and cooperating. It was a transformation unlike any other. A shift in mind, spirit, and capability that would prepare humanity for the unknown galaxies ahead. And in the glowing presence of the Crather ship above, Elena understood the final truth. Survival was not enough. Humanity's strength lay in its intelligence, courage, and unity. And now, guided by the universe's strongest species, humans were ready to transform into something far greater than anyone had imagined. The transformation was complete, not in body, but in mind and spirit. Humanity had learned to rise above fear, to cooperate under pressure, and to adapt to any challenge. And with the Crather's subtle guidance, they would continue to evolve, stronger and wiser than ever before. The new era had begun. Humanity was no longer merely surviving. They were transforming, and the universe would soon take notice. The colony of Azura IX had changed beyond recognition. Humanity had survived storms, earthquakes, and the observation of the universe's strongest species, the Crather. But survival was no longer the goal. Transformation had taken root. Humans had adapted mentally, emotionally, and socially, learning to work with precision, intelligence, and courage. And now, the final stage of the Crather's silent teaching was about to begin: acknowledgement and partnership. Commander Elena Voss walked through the bustling central plaza, taking in the sight of a thriving, confident population. Engineers moved with purpose, scientists experimented fearlessly, and soldiers trained with intelligence and coordination that would have been impossible weeks before. Children played learning games that encouraged cooperation and problem-solving, instinctively understanding the value of teamwork. Humanity was no longer fragile. It was capable, resilient, and evolving. Lieutenant Marco Reyes approached, a gleam of excitement in his eyes. "Commander, the Crather have opened a new section of the ship. It's different this time. They're allowing us to explore their full systems. It seems like partnership." Elena's heart quickened. Partnership. After everything we've endured, this is our reward and our ultimate test. We are no longer merely students. It's time to see how humanity truly performs when trusted with knowledge. The humans approached the ship carefully. Its massive form loomed above, glowing softly. The lowered section revealed a vast chamber filled with the same pulsing crystalline structures, now arranged in complex patterns that responded to thought, intention, and action. The Krather watched silently, their eyes reflecting intelligence far beyond human comprehension. Doctor. Layla Chen was first to speak. Commander, this is beyond observation. They're giving us full access to their systems. Everything they've tested us on, they are now allowing us to use. It's unprecedented. Alina nodded. Good. But remember, the Krather are still the strongest species we've encountered. We must approach with respect, intelligence, and coordination. This is not just about using their systems. It's about showing them what humanity has become. The humans entered the chamber. Immediately, the crystals responded, flowing and pulsating in patterns that mirrored their movements. Humans realized that every step, every touch, and every decision affected the environment. Where once fear or miscoordination had caused minor disruptions, now humans moved with confidence and unity. The Krather observed closely, their massive forms unmoving but attentive. Lieutenant Reyes approached a set of crystals controlling environmental stabilization. He coordinated with engineers to reroute energy flows to stabilize the colony. The crystals pulsed, shimmering brightly as if acknowledging the humans' intelligence and cooperation. Doctor. Patel activated another set, creating energy shields to protect vulnerable areas of the colony. Humans worked seamlessly, communicating without words, understanding intuitively the correct actions. Even the Krather seemed to respond, adjusting environmental variables to enhance the humans' efforts rather than challenge them. Alina felt a deep pride. Humanity was no longer being tested. They were being trusted, and they were thriving under that trust. Days turned into weeks, and humans explored the ship fully. They discovered ways to amplify their own abilities, stabilize structures, protect crops, and control minor environmental hazards. Yet it was not brute force that gave them power. It was intelligence, cooperation, and adaptability. Humanity had internalized the Krather's teachings, transforming thought into action, strategy into survival, and learning into strength. The Krather themselves began subtle interactions. They allowed humans to observe their movements, study their energy manipulations, and even mimic certain techniques under supervision. The humans learned to anticipate environmental changes, respond to challenges with precision, and coordinate in ways that no other species could. Commander Alina reflected on the change. Humanity had always survived through intelligence, creativity, and unity. The Krather had amplified these qualities, teaching humans not through words, but through challenges, observation, and subtle guidance. The result was astonishing. Humans were evolving mentally and emotionally, capable of facing threats and challenges that had once seemed impossible. One day, the Krather did something unexpected. They lowered a massive energy conduit, leading to a central chamber where the humans could stand alongside them, not as inferior observers, but as equals in understanding. The sheer scale of the Krather was awe-inspiring. Their presence radiated power, intelligence, and control of the environment. Yet they did not intimidate humanity. They challenged them to match intelligence with intelligence, cooperation with cooperation. Alina stepped forward, signaling her delegation to follow. "This is it," she said. "The final stage. We are not just surviving, we are transforming, and we must show the Krather what humanity can truly do." The humans engaged with the energy conduit. Every action required coordination, strategy, and calm intelligence. One misstep could cause disruption, but humans worked together flawlessly. Crystals pulsed in response, energy flowed harmoniously, and the Krather observed with what appeared to be approval. Lieutenant Reyes whispered, "Commander, they're acknowledging us. Not just as learners, but as equals." Alina felt it in her chest. The subtle vibrations of the ship, the glowing patterns, the environmental adjustments, all spoke of recognition. Humanity had proven not only intelligence and courage, but the unique combination of adaptability, creativity, and spirit that set them apart. As the humans mastered the final exercises, the Krather's behavior changed further. They began to interact directly, demonstrating techniques, guiding humans through energy flows, and even allowing humans to experiment beyond previous limitations. The humans' understanding grew exponentially. They were no longer merely surviving, they were transforming. Colonists on Azura IX noticed the change as well. Energy shields stabilized entire districts preemptively. Crops adapted to environmental fluctuations. Structures became self-correcting under subtle energy manipulation. Humans moved with a confidence and efficiency that reflected not just skill, but deep understanding of the universe's forces. Commander Alina gathered her team one evening. "Look at what we've become," she said. "We are not just survivors, we are thinkers, adapters, and learners. We've faced the strongest species in the galaxy and emerged transformed. The Krather have trusted us, and we have proven ourselves worthy." Dr. Chen added, "It's more than survival, it's evolution. Humanity has changed, not physically, but mentally and emotionally. We can face challenges that would have been impossible before." Alina nodded. "Exactly, and this is only the beginning. The universe is vast, full of dangers and wonders, but we are ready, we are humanity, and we are stronger than ever." In the days that followed, the Krather formally acknowledged humanity's achievement. Their massive forms hovered silently above the colony, pulsing with gentle light. Humans interpreted this as a gesture of respect, perhaps even admiration. The Krather had tested, observed, and taught, and now recognized humanity as intelligent, adaptable, and courageous. Alina stood on the observation deck, looking at the massive, glowing ship. For the first time, she felt a true sense of partnership, not just between species, but between minds, courage, and spirit. Humanity was no longer fragile. They had evolved under challenge, learned under pressure, and proven themselves in the presence of the galaxy's strongest species. Lieutenant Reyes joined her. "Commander, do you think they'll leave us alone now?" Alina smiled faintly. "No. I think they've given us guidance, and now they will watch with respect. Perhaps they will challenge us again, but we are ready. We are transformed. We are humanity." The final test had not been about brute force, weaponry, or domination. It had been about intelligence, courage, and cooperation, the qualities that defined humanity from the beginning. The Krather had shown them that survival alone was not enough. True strength came from thought, adaptation, and unity. As the Krather ship pulsed above the colony, humans understood their own potential. They had faced the impossible, adapted to challenges beyond imagination, and learned to think and act with precision, intelligence, and courage. Humanity was no longer fragile. They were capable of facing the galaxy, not as observers, but as active participants, resilient, adaptable, and transformed. Alina gazed at the horizon, where the twin suns of Azura IX cast golden light across the thriving colony. She felt pride, hope, and determination. Humanity had not only survived, they had transformed, and the universe would never underestimate them again. The Krather had taught them many things. Strength without intelligence was nothing, fear could be overcome, and cooperation could achieve what brute force never could. Humanity had absorbed these lessons, applied them, and grown stronger than ever. The colony celebrated quietly, aware that their achievements were not just for survival, but for evolution. Every citizen had participated, every team had contributed, and every individual had proven their worth. Humanity had earned a place of respect, even among the galaxy's strongest species. Commander Alina Voss felt the truth of it deeply. Humanity's future was no longer uncertain. They had faced the ultimate challenge, endured, learned, and transformed. The Krather had shown them what was possible, and humanity had reached for it. In the quiet glow of the Krather ship, the people of Azura IX understood a simple yet profound truth. The universe was vast and full of danger, but humanity had grown stronger, smarter, and more capable than ever before. They were no longer merely surviving, they were ascending. And the galaxy would soon take notice.